I see you, beloved. I see the way you prepare your face before you leave your home. I see the rehearsal of words before you speak them. I see the way you scan the room to measure whether you belong there. And I see the exhaustion, the bone-deep fatigue of performing a version of yourself you were never asked to become. You think confidence means having no cracks. But I was broken, and I am whole. I was pierced, and I am healed. I hung naked before mockers, and I am clothed in glory. The secret is not the absence of wounds. The secret is what the wounds become when you stop hiding them from me. Come, sit with me. What I have to tell you will feel like coming home. You found this moment for a reason. Not by accident, not by algorithm. You are here because something brought you, and that something has a name, and that name is not coincidence. You have been searching, haven't you? Searching for the thing that would finally make you feel settled in your own skin. You have read the books that promised you confidence in 5 steps. You have listened to the voices that told you to stand in front of the mirror and declare your worth until you believed it. You have dressed the part and spoken the part and walked into rooms with your shoulders back and your chin lifted. And still, when the lights go off and the audience leaves and you are alone with your own thoughts, that voice returns. The one that whispers that you are not enough, that you are fooling everyone, that one day they will see behind the curtain and discover that the woman they thought was confident was just a frightened girl in costume. I know that voice. I have heard it speak to every daughter I have ever loved, and I have come to tell you something that will change everything if you let it sink past your defenses and into your bones. That voice is a liar. It has always been a liar. And today, we are going to expose its lies so completely that it will lose its power over you forever. But I need you to stay with me. Not for a few minutes. Not until the next distraction pulls you away. I need you to stay for the whole journey. Because what I am about to share with you is not a collection of tips. It is not a strategy. It is a revelation. And revelations do not work in pieces. They work in wholes. So settle in. Let the world wait. This is more important than anything else, calling for your attention right now. You came here because the title spoke to something in you. Confident women know a secret, and you want to know what it is. You want to know because you have tried everything else, and nothing has lasted. The affirmations worked for a week. The self-help techniques worked until the first real challenge. The fake-it-till-you-make-it approach left you feeling more fake and less made with every passing day. And somewhere in the quiet of your heart, you began to suspect that maybe confidence was given to other women but withheld from you. Maybe some people are just born confident, and you were born without that gift. Maybe you are fundamentally deficient in some way that cannot be fixed. I am here to tell you that suspicion is wrong. Completely, utterly, beautifully wrong. You were not born without confidence. You were born with more confidence than you can imagine. It was planted in you like a seed before you drew your first breath. It was woven into the fabric of your soul by the same hands that hung the stars. But something happened. Life happened. Pain happened. Words were spoken over you that were never true but sounded true because they came from voices you trusted. And slowly, layer by layer, the confidence you were born with got buried. Not destroyed, buried. And buried things can be excavated. Hidden things can be found. What was lost can be recovered. That is what we are doing here today. We are not building your confidence from scratch. We are uncovering the confidence that has been there all along. We are digging through the rubble of lies and fear and shame and false identity until we find the treasure that was buried in the field of your heart. And when you find it, you will understand why I said this would feel like coming home. Because it will. You will recognize the confidence we uncover as something that was always yours. Something that fits you perfectly because it was made for you. Now let me tell you a story. Not a story I heard somewhere, but a story I lived. A story about a woman who found the secret we are talking about today, and found it in the last place anyone would have expected, including her. There was a town in Samaria, and in that town there was a well. Jacob's well, they called it, because it had been there since the days of the patriarch. People came to that well every morning to draw water. It was the gathering place, the social center, the spot where news was shared and relationships were maintained. In the cool of the morning, the women would come with their jars, and they would talk and laugh and catch up on the events of the day. It was a place of community, a place of belonging. But there was one woman who never came in the morning. She came at noon, when the sun was brutal and the well was deserted. She came in the heat, because the heat was easier to bear than the whispers. She came alone, because alone was safer than judged. You see, this woman had a history, 5 husbands, and the man she was with now had not married her. In a culture where a woman's worth was measured by her relationships with men, she had been weighed and found wanting 5 times over. Maybe some of those husbands died. Maybe some of them divorced her. Maybe she had been passed from man to man like property that nobody wanted to keep. We do not know all the details. What we know is the result. She had arranged her entire life around avoiding the eyes of her neighbors. She had built her schedule around shame. I was waiting for her at that well. I had traveled through Samaria specifically to meet her, though she did not know that. My disciples had gone into the town to buy food, and I sat alone by the well, waiting. When she appeared with her water jar, she did not expect anyone to be there, and she certainly did not expect a Jewish rabbi to speak to her. I said to her, "Give me a drink." She was shocked. Jews did not speak to Samaritans. Men did not speak to women they did not know. And yet here I was, asking her for something, putting myself in a position of need, making myself vulnerable to her response. She said, "How is it that you, a Jew, ask a drink from me, a Samaritan woman?" Do you hear what she was really saying? She was saying, "Don't you know who I am? Don't you know what I am? Why would you lower yourself to speak to someone like me?" She had so internalized the judgment of others that she now judged herself before anyone else could. She carried her shame like a shield, wielding it before anyone else could use it against her. I said to her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that says to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." She did not understand yet. She thought I was speaking of physical water. She pointed out that I had no bucket, and the well was deep. She asked where I would get this living water. She was still thinking in earthly terms, still measuring everything by the standards she knew. I said, "Everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks of the water that I give will never be thirsty again. The water that I give will become in them a spring of water welling up to eternal life." Now her interest was awakened. She said, "Sir, give me this water, so that I will not be thirsty or have to come here to draw water." She was still missing the point, but she was leaning in. She was curious, and so I did something that would seem cruel if you did not understand its purpose. I said, "Go, call your husband, and come here." Why did I say that? Was I trying to embarrass her? Was I pointing out her sin to shame her? No, I was doing something far more important. I was showing her that I already knew. I was letting her understand that nothing about her was hidden from me, and I was still sitting there. I was still talking to her. I was still offering her living water. She said, "I have no husband," and I said, "You are right in saying you have no husband, for you have had 5 husbands, and the one you now have is not your husband. What you have said is true. Watch what happens next." She does not run away. She does not collapse in shame. Something shifts in her. She says, "Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet." And then she begins to ask theological questions about worship. The conversation goes deeper. We talk about spirit and truth. We talk about the Messiah who is coming. And finally, I say to her the words I had come all that way to speak. "I who speak to you am he." At that moment, my disciples returned. They were shocked to find me talking with this woman, but none of them asked why. And the woman, pay attention to this, the woman left her water jar beside the well and went into the city. She went to the very people she had been avoiding for years. She went to the men and women whose whispers had driven her to noon. And she said to them, "Come, see a man who told me everything I ever did. Could this be the Christ?" She left her water jar behind. Do you understand what that means? She had come to the well to get water. Water was essential for survival. She had made the long walk in the noon heat, specifically to fill that jar, and now she left it sitting there, forgotten. Why? Because when you have been given a spring of living water that wells up from within, you no longer need to carry vessels for earthly water. When you have been fully known and fully loved at the same time, the things you thought you needed for survival become irrelevant. She did not need the jar anymore. She did not need to hide anymore. She did not need to arrange her life around avoidance anymore. She went into the city and spoke boldly. This woman who had been hiding for years suddenly became an evangelist. This woman who could not face her neighbors suddenly became the one who brought her entire town to me. What changed? Not her past. Her past was still 5 husbands, and a man who was not her husband. Not her reputation. Everyone still knew her history, not her circumstances. She was still poor, still marginalized, still Samaritan. What changed was that she had been known, completely known. And in being known, she discovered she was loved. And in being loved, she discovered she had nothing left to hide. And when you have nothing left to hide, you have nothing left to fear. And when you have nothing left to fear, confidence is not something you have to manufacture. It is something that flows naturally from your new position. That is the first piece of the secret, daughter. Confidence is not the absence of a past. Confidence is the presence of a witness who knows everything about you and does not leave. But let me tell you another story, because I want you to understand this secret from every angle. The woman at the well received confidence through encounter. She sat. I spoke. She listened. Her life changed. But what about when there is no time to sit? What about when you must act before the miracle? What about when no one is offering you living water and you must reach out and take what you need? There was a woman who had been bleeding for 12 years. 12 years. Think about that number. Think about what 12 years of chronic illness would do to a person. She had spent everything she had on doctors. Everything. She had gone to every healer, tried every treatment, spent every coin she possessed. And not only had she not gotten better, she had grown worse. In her culture, her condition made her unclean. Not just sick, but unclean. This meant she could not enter the temple. She could not participate in worship. Anyone who touched her would become unclean themselves. Every chair she sat on, every bed she slept in, every person she accidentally brushed against, all of it became contaminated by her presence. For 12 years, she had lived in a state of enforced isolation. People did not want to be near her. People crossed the street to avoid her. She had become a ghost in her own community, visible but untouchable. And then she heard that I was passing through. I was surrounded by crowds that day, people pressing in from every side, everyone wanting something from me. There was a synagogue ruler whose daughter was dying, and I was on my way to heal her. The crowd was thick and urgent and loud. There was no way for this unclean woman to approach me properly. No way to get an appointment. No way to wait in line and make a formal request. The crowd would have pushed her back. The religious leaders would have rebuked her for contaminating everyone she touched. But she had a thought, a knowing, really. She said to herself, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, I will be made whole. Notice what she did not say. She did not say maybe. She did not say I hope. She did not say perhaps. She said I will be made whole. This was not wishful thinking. This was not positive visualization. This was a knowing so deep that it operated as fact before the fact was visible. She pushed through the crowd. An unclean woman, touching everyone she passed, knowing that technically she was defiling them all, not caring anymore because something greater than fear was driving her. She got low. She crawled beneath the notice of the important people. She reached, and her fingers brushed the edge of my robe. Immediately, the bleeding stopped. She felt it in her body. The thing that had plagued her for 12 years ceased in an instant. She was healed. But something else happened. I stopped, in the middle of that pressing crowd, with the synagogue ruler's daughter dying and time of the essence. I stopped and said, "Who touched me?" My disciples thought I was being ridiculous. They said, "Master, the crowd is pressing against you on every side. Everyone is touching you. What do you mean? Who touched me?" But I knew the difference between a crowd that presses and a woman who takes. I felt power go out from me. Not pressure, power. There is a difference between being surrounded by people who want things and being touched by someone who knows what they are taking. She came forward trembling. She fell at my feet and told me the whole story, right there in front of everyone. Her illness, her isolation, her desperation, her faith. And I said to her words that I want you to hear as if they are being spoken directly to you right now. "Daughter, your faith has made you whole. Go in peace." Do you see what happened? She was already confident before she was healed. The healing confirmed what faith had already claimed. She did not receive confidence as a reward for breakthrough. Confidence was the currency she used to purchase the breakthrough. She knew something, and that knowing made her bold, and that boldness made her reach, and that reaching made her whole. The secret is beginning to come into focus now, isn't it? Confidence is not a feeling you must wait for. Confidence is a knowing you must act from. The woman at the well was known and discovered she was loved. The woman with the issue of blood knew she would be healed and acted from that knowing. Both of them received what they did not earn because they operated from a position that transcended their circumstances. But I have one more story for you, and this one might be the most important of all. Because the woman at the well received confidence through revelation. The woman with the issue of blood exercised confidence through action. But what about when you are rejected? What about when the door seems closed? What about when even I seem to say no? There was a woman from the region of Tyre and Sidon. She was not Jewish. She was a Gentile, an outsider, a person with no claim on the covenant promises of Israel. Her daughter was severely tormented by an unclean spirit, and this mother's desperation drove her to do something audacious. She came to find me. She cried out to me, "Have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely oppressed by a demon." Now watch what I did. I did not answer her a word. I remained silent. My disciples came to me and said, "Send her away, for she is crying out after us." They were annoyed. They wanted her gone. And I said something that must have sounded like another rejection. I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. In other words, my mission is for the Jews, not for Gentiles like you. But she did not give up. She came and knelt before me and said simply, "Lord, help me." And I said something that sounds even harsher. It is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. Now, if you are hearing this for the first time, you might be shocked. It might sound like I was insulting her, calling her a dog, rejecting her utterly. But here is what I need you to understand. I was testing her, not to be cruel, but to see what she would do with limitation. I was giving her a wall to see if she would climb it. And listen to what she said. This is one of the most remarkable responses in all of Scripture. She said, "Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." She did not argue with the boundary. She did not protest the limitation. She accepted the terms and then redefined her place within them. She said, essentially, "Fine, I am a dog, but even dogs get crumbs. And crumbs from your table are more than feasts from any other." I said to her, "O woman, great is your faith. Let it be to you as you desire." And her daughter was healed from that very hour. This woman received more resistance from me than almost anyone else in the Gospels. Silence, apparent rejection, what sounded like an insult. And she pushed through all of it, not because she was arrogant, not because she was entitled, but because she knew something. She knew who I was, and she knew that my character was greater than any obstacle, and she knew that persistence was not desperation. Persistence was a declaration of her understanding of who she was talking to. Confident women do not crumble at the first no. They do not interpret resistance as rejection. They understand that sometimes the door that seems closed is actually an invitation to knock harder. Now you have seen the secret from 3 angles. Through the woman at the well, you have seen that confidence comes from being fully known and fully loved. Through the woman with the issue of blood, you have seen that confidence is a knowing that acts before the evidence appears. Through the Syrophoenician woman, you have seen that confidence persists even when circumstances suggest failure. But these stories are not just for admiration, they are blueprints for your own life. And now, I want to teach you the principles that underlie them, because once you understand the principles, you can apply them to any situation. You can walk in the same confidence these women walked in, not because you are copying them, but because you are drawing from the same source they drew from. Here is the first principle, and I need you to hear this clearly. Confidence is not a feeling, it is a knowing. You have been taught by your culture that confidence is an emotion, something you feel, something that rises up in your chest and makes you bold. And because you have believed this, you have been waiting to feel confident before you act. You have been standing at the edge of the water, waiting for confidence to push you in. But I tell you this, confidence is not a feeling you must summon. Confidence is settled knowledge that exists independent of how you feel. The woman with the issue of blood was probably terrified. Her hands may have trembled, her heart may have pounded. She may have felt anything but confident as she pushed through that crowd, but she knew something that was bigger than her feelings. She knew that if she touched my garment, she would be healed. And that knowing carried her forward when feelings would have held her back. I did not feel excited in Gethsemane. The night before my crucifixion, I prayed until my sweat became like drops of blood. I asked my Father if there was any other way. My soul was exceedingly sorrowful, even to the point of death. I did not feel confident. I did not feel bold. I did not feel anything but the weight of what was coming. But I knew who I was. I knew why I had come. I knew that the cross was not the end, but the means to the end. And that knowing carried me forward when every feeling in my body screamed for me to run. Feelings are weather, daughter. Knowing is geography. You do not abandon your house because it is raining. You do not relocate your identity because your emotions are stormy. You stand firm on what you know, and you let the feelings pass through without uprooting you. Confident women do not wait to feel confident. They act from what they know, and sometimes the feelings catch up, and sometimes they do not. Either way, the action is taken. Either way, the ground is gained. Here is the question you must ask yourself. What do you know? Not what do you feel, but what do you know? Do you know that you are loved? Do you know that your life has purpose? Do you know that the God who made the universe also made you, and made you specifically, and made you with intention? If you know these things, then act from them. Stop waiting for your feelings to align with your knowledge. Your feelings are followers, not leaders. They will fall in line once you start walking, but you must start walking first. This brings me to the second principle. Your confidence has a source, and that source is not you. The world has told you to believe in yourself, to trust yourself, to find the confidence within yourself. And there is a grain of truth in this, but only a grain, because self-sourced confidence is a candle. It burns hot for a while, then it flickers, then it dies, when the wind of failure or rejection or suffering blows. Self-sourced confidence depends on your performance. When you perform well, you feel confident. When you perform poorly, the confidence evaporates. It is a fragile thing, easily shattered, constantly needing to be rebuilt. But God-sourced confidence is not a candle. It is the sun. It does not depend on your mood. It does not depend on your performance. It does not depend on your circumstances. It is constant, eternal, unshakable, because it is anchored not in who you are but in whose you are. When I spoke in the synagogues, the people were astonished at my authority. They said I taught as one having authority, not as the scribes. But where did that authority come from? Listen to what I said. The Father who dwells in me does the works. I can do nothing of my own accord. I speak only what the Father tells me to speak. My confidence was not self-generated. My authority was not self-produced. Everything I had flowed from my relationship with the Father. I was a vessel, a channel, a son who knew his Father and knew that his Father's resources were unlimited. And you, daughter, are in the same position. You are not the source. You are the vessel. And vessels are not less valuable than sources. They are differently purposed. A vessel that is connected to an infinite source will never run dry. But a vessel that tries to generate its own contents will exhaust itself in the effort. The confident woman does not say, I am enough. She says, He is enough, and I am His. This is not diminishment. This is not false humility. This is accurate wiring. You were not designed to be your own source. You were designed to be plugged into the source, drawing from His unlimited supply, flowing with His power rather than generating your own. When you understand this, something shifts. The pressure comes off. You do not have to manufacture confidence anymore. You do not have to psych yourself up, pump yourself up, talk yourself into boldness. You simply have to remember whose you are. You have to remember that the same power that raised me from the dead is at work in you. You have to remember that you are not an orphan trying to survive, but a daughter connected to a king. The third principle is this. Insecurity is not a feeling you must manage. It is a false identity you must reject. This is crucial, so lean in. You have been treating your insecurity as if it were an emotion, as if it were something that rises up in you that you must push down or talk yourself out of or manage with techniques. But insecurity is not a feeling. Insecurity is the fruit of a belief, a false belief that you have accepted about yourself. You do not have insecurity. You have believed something about yourself that is not true, and the feeling you call insecurity is the fruit of that false belief. The enemy of your soul is not creative. He uses the same strategy in every generation. He does not have to destroy you. He only has to rename you. If he can convince you that your name is not enough, you will live as not enough lives. Small, apologetic, hiding, compensating. If he can convince you that your name is unlovable, you will live as unlovable lives, constantly seeking validation, never receiving it, always afraid of abandonment. If he can convince you that your name is failure, you will live as failure lives, never attempting anything that might confirm the name you secretly believe is yours. But those names are not your names. They are lies whispered by a liar. Your name is beloved. Your name is chosen. Your name is daughter of the Most High. Your name was spoken over you before the foundation of the world by the one who knit you together in your mother's womb. When you operate from your true name, the false names lose their power. When you remember who you actually are, the impersonators have to flee. Insecurity is an identity thief, wearing your clothes, living in your house, eating your food. And you have been paying rent to a squatter who has no legal right to be there. It is time to serve the eviction notice. It is time to reclaim your property. It is time to stop tolerating an occupant who is destroying your peace. How do you evict insecurity? Not by managing your feelings, not by reciting affirmations louder than the lies. You evict insecurity by renaming yourself, by declaring, out loud if necessary, that the names that have been spoken over you by failure and shame and rejection are not your names. They never were. And from this day forward, you will answer only to the name your Father has given you. What have you been calling yourself that I never called you? That is the question you must answer. Make a list if you need to. Write down every name you have been wearing. Not enough. Too much. Behind. Broken. Unlovable. Invisible. Forgettable. Look at that list and ask yourself, who said this first? Was it the voice of the Father or the voice of the accuser? If it was the voice of the accuser, cross it out. Rename yourself with the name I gave you, and do not pick up the old name again, no matter how familiar it feels. The fourth principle addresses the thief that steals confidence more subtly than any other: comparison. You have been measuring yourself against other women for as long as you can remember, measuring your body against hers, your success against hers, your marriage against hers, your ministry against hers, your mothering against hers. And every measurement has left you feeling like you came up short, because comparison is a game that has no winners. It is designed to make everyone feel inadequate. It is a trap, and you have been walking into it willingly, sometimes daily. Listen to me. You were not made to be like her. You were made to be like you, fully, completely, unrepeatable you. When you measure your chapter 3 against her chapter 15, you are not gaining insight. You are losing identity. You are abandoning your own story to obsess over someone else's. There were two sisters I loved very much, Martha and Mary. You know their story. Martha was busy serving, preparing, managing the details of hospitality. Mary sat at my feet and listened to my words. Martha came to me frustrated and said, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her to help me." But I said, "Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good part, which will not be taken from her. Now, here is what I need you to understand." I was not saying Martha was wrong to serve. Service is beautiful. Hospitality is a gift. But Martha was wrong to compare her calling to Mary's calling. She was wrong to look at what Mary was doing and feel resentful that her own assignment looked different. Your assignment is not her assignment. Your timeline is not her timeline. Your portion is not her portion. And when you stare at her plate, you forget to eat from your own. You starve yourself while obsessing over someone else's meal. Confident women have stopped auditioning for roles they were never cast in. They play their part fully, excellently, joyfully, and they leave the other parts to others. They celebrate when another woman succeeds because they are not competing for a limited supply of success. They know that the Father has more than enough blessing for everyone, and her blessing does not diminish theirs. Eyes forward, daughter. She is not your standard. She is your sister. Stop measuring and start living. Stop comparing and start becoming. The energy you spend wishing you had her life is energy stolen from the life you were actually given. The fifth principle addresses a comparison that is even more insidious. The comparison to your own past self. Some of you are not comparing yourselves to other women. You are comparing yourselves to a version of you that you used to be, or a version of you that you think you should be by now. You look back at a season when you were stronger, more vibrant, more faithful, more together, and you cannot forgive yourself for not being that woman anymore. Or you look ahead at a version of yourself you have not yet become, thinner, more successful, more spiritual, and you punish yourself for the gap between where you are and where you think you should be. Here is what I want you to hear. You cannot outperform your identity. Performance flows from identity. It does not create it. You have been working so hard to become something, but you already are something. You have been laboring to earn something that was freely given. And the exhaustion you feel is the exhaustion of trying to purchase what is already yours. I did not die so you could spend your life proving yourself worthy of my death. I died to declare your worth, not to create a standard you must reach. Your worth was established at the cross. It is finished, I said. Not it is beginning. Finished. Complete. Done. There is nothing left for you to add. Remember the story of the prodigal son. The younger son squandered his inheritance and returned home in shame. But the father ran to him, embraced him, put a ring on his finger, and threw a feast. The son tried to give a speech about being unworthy. The father ignored the speech and called for the fattened calf. But the older son, he was the one who struggled. He had stayed home. He had worked the fields. He had never disobeyed his father. And when he saw the celebration for his wayward brother, he was furious. He said to his father, "All these years I have served you, and I never disobeyed your command. Yet you never gave me a young goat that I might celebrate with my friends." The father's response reveals everything. "Son, you are always with me, and all that I have is yours." Do you see? The older son had been working for love instead of working from love. He had been earning what was already his. He was exhausted and resentful because he did not know he was already the son. He thought he had to perform his way into favor that had been his from birth. Daughter, you are already the daughter. You do not have to perform your way into my favor. You do not have to earn your place at the table. You do not have to prove that you belong. You belong because you are mine. That is enough. Confident women do not perform to earn love. They perform because they are loved, and the performance flows freely from a heart that knows it is secure. They work from rest, not for rest. They give from fullness, not for fullness. They live from approval, not for approval. Now, I have given you the principles, but principles without practice remain theories, and theories do not change lives. Actions do. So let me give you something practical, something you can do today, something you can do tomorrow, something that will begin to shift the ground beneath your feet. The first practice is the daily remembrance. Every morning, before your feet touch the floor, I want you to pause, not to recite affirmations, not to summon courage, simply to remember. Speak these words, not as hope, but as fact. I am not trying to become. I already am. I am not earning love. I am already loved. I am not proving worth. I am already worthy. My name is daughter. My father is king. My worth is settled. This is not manifestation. This is memory. You are not creating a new reality with your words. You are acknowledging the reality that already exists, whether you feel it or not. Do this before you look at your phone, before you see the emails, before you scroll through the images of other women's lives and start the comparison game. Begin your day from knowing, and the day will bend differently. It will not be a day spent trying to prove something. It will be a day spent living from what has already been proven. The second practice is the identity audit. Set aside time to sit quietly with these questions. Write your answers down. Do not just think about them, write them. First question: what names have I been calling myself that God never called me? Make the list. Not enough, too much, behind, broken, unlovable, forgettable. Write them all down. Look at them. Then ask yourself, for each one, who said this first? Was it the voice of the Father or the voice of the accuser? If it was the voice of the accuser, cross it out. It is a lie, and you are done wearing it. Second question: what would I do tomorrow if I fully believed I was loved without condition? Would you speak differently? Would you rest more? Would you ask for help? Would you set boundaries? Would you stop hiding parts of yourself? The gap between how you are living and how you would live if you believed that gap is the territory the enemy occupies in your life. Reclaim it. Third question: Whose approval am I working for that I already have? Name the person, name the group, name the system, then speak aloud. I release the need for their approval. I have the approval of my Father, and it is sufficient. This audit is not a one-time event. Return to it regularly. The lies creep back. The false names try to reattach themselves. The comparison trap resets. You must audit your identity the way you would audit your finances regularly, honestly, with a commitment to clearing out what does not belong. The third practice is the interruption protocol. When the old voice speaks, you are not good enough. You do not belong. They are going to find out you are a fraud. Do not argue with it. Arguments dignify lies. If you argue with the voice, you are treating it as if it has a legitimate case to make. It does not. So do not argue. Instead, interrupt. Speak aloud if you can. Say, "That is not my name. My name is beloved. My Father has spoken, and his voice is louder than fear. The enemy is a lawyer. He will build a case against you. He will present evidence your failures, your shameful moments, your secret sins. He will call witnesses, people who rejected you, words that wounded you, memories you wish you could erase. He will construct a compelling argument for your unworthiness. But you are not in his courtroom. You have been transferred to the throne room of grace, and in that courtroom, the verdict has already been rendered. Forgiven, accepted, whole. The case is closed. The gavel has fallen. There is no appeal. So when the old prosecutor tries to drag you back into his courtroom, refuse to go. Interrupt the proceedings. Dismiss the case. Walk out of the trial that has no authority over you. This takes practice. The first time you do it, you will feel awkward. You will feel like you are lying to yourself. But you are not lying. You are telling the truth for the first time in a long time. The lies are what you have been believing. The truth is what you are now declaring. By the 10th time, you will feel power in it. By the 100th time, it will be automatic. You are retraining a mind that has been conditioned by lies. Be patient with yourself, but do not be passive. Patience is not passivity. You are actively, intentionally, consistently replacing false beliefs with true ones. Now, we have traveled a long way together, you and I. You have heard the stories. You have learned the principles. You have received the practices. But before I let you go, I want to make sure you understand the heart of everything I have said. Daughter, I did not come to give you a new burden to carry. I came to give you permission to set down a burden you were never meant to bear. The burden of proving yourself. The burden of earning love. The burden of constructing your own worth. These were never your assignments. They were weights placed on you by a world that does not know how love works. Love does not require proof. Love is not earned. Worth is not constructed. These things are given freely, completely, without condition. And the only thing you have to do is receive them. You came here hoping for a secret, and I have given you one. But the secret is not a technique. It is not a strategy. It is not a new way of thinking that you must master. The secret is simply this. You are already what you are trying to become. The confidence you seek is not ahead of you. It is beneath the rubble of lies you have believed, names you have answered to, performances you have exhausted yourself maintaining. You are not under construction. You are under excavation. And the treasure we are digging for is not something new. It is something ancient, something that was placed in you before you were born, something that has been waiting all this time for you to remember it is there. The woman at the well did not leave with a new identity. She left having remembered her true one. The woman with the issue of blood did not receive power she lacked. She accessed the power that had always been available. The woman who persisted at my feet did not earn my attention. She reminded me of what I already intended to give. And you are not here by accident. This is not algorithm. This is appointment. I have been waiting for you at this well, in this crowd. At this threshold, I have seen you coming from a long way off, and I have prepared this moment for you. Now hear this, and let it sink into the deepest part of you. You are not broken. You have only believed lies about your wholeness. You are not behind. You are exactly where the Father has placed you. You are not performing for love. You are already loved. And from that love, you move. Your confidence is not self-made. It is God-given, Christ-secured, and Spirit-sealed. You are not becoming something. You already are something. And today, you remember. Say it with me now, even if you do not fully believe it yet. Say it as an act of faith, as a declaration of war against the lies, as a stake driven into the ground of your new territory. I am not broken. I have only believed lies about my wholeness. I am not behind. I am exactly where the Father has placed me. I am not performing for love. I am already loved. And from that love, I move. My confidence is not self-made. It is God-given, Christ-secured, and Spirit-sealed. I am not becoming. I already am. And today, I remember. If these words have awakened something in you, something that feels less like new information and more like old truth finally surfacing, then I want to invite you to do something small but significant. Leave a mark that you were here. Press the button that says these words mattered to you, not for algorithm, not for numbers, but for remembrance. Because there is power in declaring publicly that something shifted in you today. And in the comments, tell me what name you are releasing. Tell me what name you are reclaiming. Let this be a community of women who are shedding false identities together, supporting each other in the excavation, cheering each other on as the buried treasure is brought into the light. If you want to continue this journey, if you want more of these conversations, more of these revelations, more of these moments where truth cuts through the lies and sets you free, then return. Subscribe. I will meet you here again. There is so much more I want to tell you, so much more I want to show you, so much more I want to uncover with you. Go now, daughter, not to become confident, but to remember that you already are. The secret was never hidden from you. It was buried within you. And today, peace be with you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. You are known, you are loved, you are mine. And that, beloved, is more than enough. That has always been more than enough. Now walk in it.